Hello and welcome to Sins of a Solar Empire 2. I'm Shadow Coast and welcome to the channel. In this beginner's guide video, we are going to review the most important Tier 1 and Tier 2 research for civilian and military research respectively. This is to help you get a better understanding of where to prioritize your research to help you through your gameplays. Now, if I miss anything, please be sure to comment, and if you do find this informative, please consider dropping a thumbs up. So without further ado, let's jump in. Before we can unlock and start civilian or military research, we will need to build orbital stations that are allow us to do research. So for civilian, we will need at least one civic research station. For military, we need at least one military research station. Once we have one of each, we can then start on civilian 1 and military 1 respectively. Now I've gone ahead and already built 4 of each, which will allow me to unlock tier 2. So the way this works is that you actually have to click on the tier to unlock it. So we need some more credits. I'm just going to let time speed up here so we get more credits from that perspective. So we'll worry about this in a minute. Now, once you've researched this tier, you can then research the items underneath it. Each research item requires certain resources, so each has a price. Now we're going to focus on civilian tree tier 1 and 2 first. So to begin with, and I'm just going to let time run here so we can do other stuff, I highly recommend looking at and thinking about either Arctic colonization, primordial colonization, or volcanic colonization. What's going to drive which one of these three you pick will really be based upon the map. So as your scouts are researching the map, look at nearby planets that you're going to want to colonize. So in this particular case, I have a volcanic planet close to me. So as I think about this, I probably will prioritize volcanic colonization. So make sure that you pick one of these three, or maybe 2 or 3 of these, to make sure that you can colonize planets and start building out your economy and empire from that perspective. So that is kind of the number one area I'd focus first. So in this case, we're going to pick volcanic because we have a volcanic planet. The next item I would strongly think about is actually picking up mercantile envoys. The reason this is so important is that this will unlock our ability to work with and communicate with minor factions. So once we have this unlocked, we can then build up to 2 influence points over time, which we'll gain, and then we can spend those points to increase our reputation and then purchase various items. So this will be a critical step overall. There will also be things you can bid on that'll kind of pop up here to do. So I do recommend that you get this. You might put it as 3rd, 4th, or 5th, but you definitely want to make sure that earlier game you are grabbing this so you can then interact with the minor factions and other abilities. Now from there, it's going to be really dependent. I highly recommend focusing on deep core metal mining and efficient crystal sorting. These will boost respectively metal and crystal production, which will help with your economy. The other reason we want to grab these two is that we're going to need them to eventually unlock orbital extraction, which we're going to definitively want to produce. I'm just going to boost some of my production here so I can tee this up from this perspective. So we're going to want orbital extraction at some point, and when we click on orbital extraction, one of the things that we're going to notice here is that we're going to need deep core metal mining and efficient crystal sorting. The reason that orbital extraction is so important is that this unlocks metal extractors and crystal extractors, which we can then build down here, and this will boost our metal and crystal production, which will be critical to our overall economy. The other item in tier 2 that I would focus on very quickly is exotic refinery. Once we unlock the exotic refinery, we will be able to build exotic refineries on different locations or systems we own, and that will allow us to produce exotics, which will be critical to building capital ships, star bases, some further research, and other items. So you want to make sure that you're diligently working towards your exotics so you can build out your fleets and add more capital ships and star bases to your empire. This will be very critical, so keep that in mind. Now there are a slew of other great things you're going to want to think about. Asteroid mercantile mandate is really good. It'll increase the credit income rate, so when we colonize asteroids and we build commerce, it'll produce more credits per second for us, which are great. There are a lot of other great other items here that are going to boost your economy, from boosting the ability to augment your economy, from increasing commerce, metal, and crystal production, to actually unlocking planetary structures that will also give you boosts. So one of the items I like, but I would probably prioritize kind of secondary, is chemical plant unlock. Because when you place this on a planet, which we can do down here on the planetary tab, we can build structures. This is going to increase our credit income and also decrease the refinery exotic build time, which can take some time. So keep an eye out there. But in review, I would prioritize colonization. You're going to want all three of these eventually, but pick the one for the planet's types closest to you so you can really start colonizing them early. Make sure you eventually pick up mercantile envoys. Now that we've done that, you can see here we are building influence points per minute that allow us to interact with minor factions, which is nice. And then you're going to want to diligently work towards orbital extraction and exotic refinery unlock and building these structures so you can gain more metal and crystal, but then also gain the ability to produce the requisite exotics. Let's take a minute on military. So as we look at the military, there are certain things we're going to want to definitively prioritize. Basic provisioning is hypercritical. This increases your max supply, which basically increases the number of ships you can have. Now we're going to want to focus on basic provisioning and anything that's going to increase our supply, because that allows us to create bigger, better fleets. When we look at tier 2, once we get there, we're going to also want to prioritize provisioning doctrine. This increases supplies. And then eventually fuel efficient deployment, which then brings the max supply to 1,000. So these are things you're going to want to diligently work to, and make sure as you unlock these upgrades, you are adding ships to your fleets to build them out so they're maxed out to the best ability possible. You want the largest fleets possible with a good variety of ships. So that brings us to unlocking ships. Outside of prioritizing increasing your max supply, you're going to want to focus on unlocking ships. Now, early game, I highly recommend the Garda unlock. You're going to want both the Garda as well as your Shriken. Garda is going to be important because this is our flak frigate, and you will encounter enemies with missiles. So having a few Gardas in your fleet is hypercritical to make sure we reduce the number of incoming missiles and the damage they do. From there, after getting these unlocks, I actually recommend popping down here, getting hull reinforcements. You can see that this is going to increase the max hull points regeneration, which is very critical, and advanced metallurgy, which increases our armor strength. So these two I really highly recommend getting when you're in tier 1. Once we come over tier 2, there are a few other good ones. So basic training, which increases starting experience, making your ships more effective. It does require an exotic, so if you don't have that, I'd actually come down here and start thinking about combat repair systems. Once we unlock combat repair systems, what we're going to want to do is for our capital ships, so if we select our capital ship here, down here in the bottom left, we can build different items, right? And so that combat repair here, we're going to be able to add. In the meantime, we probably can add your armor patch kit without doing much research from that perspective. The other item I would highly recommend looking at is things that are going to increase your damage output. So rapid autoloader unlock is going to be great. You also load this in on your capital ships here under, I don't know why that says offense. That does say offense. Right, and you're gonna want to, have these upgrades. So as you unlock them, you're gonna see more options here to purchase. So I really like that one. And then finally, once you have more resources in tier 2, you're going to want to unlock these bigger cruiser ships. They're all pretty good. If I was going to say or provide an order, I would say that I personally like the carrier cruiser, then the repair bot cruiser. Both of these I'd put towards the top, Now, depending on how your campaign's going, you might prioritize these over some of these other upgrades to your capital ship. That's fine. And then definitively, assuming you have the exotics, you're going to want to unlock the starbase and start building starbases because they're super powerful and allow you to output damage. Now, to make sure the starbase is working well, we do want to unlock hangars, and we're going to unlock reserve squadron hangar unlocks. So this is going to effectively make it more efficient for fighters to occur. I put this towards a little later in tier 2 because these are more costly, and you want to make sure that you're expending resources to expand your economy to support these larger structures before you actually get the research, but they are hypercritical. And that's it. These are what I believe are the most important tier 1 and 2 research items you want to focus on for your campaigns. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you did find this video helpful, please drop a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Shadow Coast out.